follow your heart. Do whatever your heart tells you to do. Is that really a good idea? There are at least 3 reasons why it's not only unwise, but it's actually impossible to consistently follow your heart. Reason number 1, our hearts are deceitful and selfish. The prophet Jeremiah said, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" Take a minute and just ask yourself, is it easier to be bad or good? Do you have to work at being selfish or selfless? You don't have to teach a 2-year-old to say mine. You have to teach a 2-year-old to share. Why? Because human nature is selfish from birth. Our hearts are also deceptive. They deceive us into thinking we must have something and we must have it now. It's only after it's too late that we experience the awful consequences of blindly following our impulses. The truth is, if we follow our hearts without wisdom and moral restraint, we will by nature act in very selfish and destructive ways. And we can't train or educate ourselves out of this situation either. As C.S. Lewis wisely observed, education without values, as useful as it is, seems rather to make man a more clever devil. Reason number 2, our hearts are conflicting. Our hearts are not only selfish and deceitful, they are also conflicting. Notice that we often have 2 hearts warring within us. We want that shiny new car, but we don't want the debt. We want to get married, but we still want to be free to play the field. We want to have children, but we don't want the responsibility. So which heart are you going to follow? Since we are often conflicted, the road to happiness will require us to say no to many of our heart's desires. Author John Mark Comer put it brilliantly. Giving in to the desires of our flesh does not lead us to freedom in life, as many people assume, but instead to slavery and, in the worst case scenario, addiction, which is a kind of prolonged suicide by pleasure. The 3rd reason is our hearts are changing. Do you have all the same desires you had 20 years ago, 10 years ago? How about 5 years ago? Not completely, because your heart changes and grows. This is especially true of the young. Kids go through phases because puberty is one big, long transition from child to adult. It's normal to feel odd during that time, but hearts change. Did you know that about 80% of young teens who experience true gender dysphoria grow out of it by the time they're 18? So why would anyone permanently disfigure and sterilize a child by encouraging them to follow an immature heart that will probably change on its own very soon? Real-time host Bill Maher drove this part home, saying when he was a kid, "I wanted to be a pirate. Thank God no one scheduled me for eye removal and peg leg surgery." Question: what should we do with our hearts? King Solomon was nearly led to despair by blindly following his heart. He wrote this urgent proverb: "Above all else, guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it." Guard your heart by seeking wisdom and eternal hope from God. Otherwise, your selfish, conflicting, and changing heart will often take you down the wrong path.